Discovering the pulse of money and trends. In this episode of Money and Trend Insights, we delve into the recent tensions between China and the United States over the shooting down of a suspected Chinese spy balloon. China has accused the United States of indiscriminate use of force after the U.S. shot down a suspected Chinese spy balloon off the Carolina coast. The balloon had traversed sensitive military sites across North America, but China insisted that it was an accidental flyover involving a civilian aircraft. Vice Foreign Minister Feng lodged a formal complaint with the U.S. Embassy on Sunday, calling it a U.S. attack on a Chinese civilian unmanned airship by military force. He added that the U.S. had seriously violated the spirit of international law and international practice. The presence of the balloon in the U.S. skies dealt a severe blow to already strained U.S.-Chinese relations, which have been in a downward spiral for years. This prompted Secretary of State Antony Blinken to abruptly cancel a high-stakes Beijing trip aimed at easing tensions. Xi repeated China's insistence that the balloon was a Chinese civil unmanned airship that blew into U.S. airspace by mistake, calling it an accidental incident caused by force majeure. China has stated that it will resolutely safeguard the legitimate rights and interests of Chinese companies, resolutely safeguard China's interests and dignity, and reserve the right to make further necessary responses. U.S. President Joe Biden issued the shoot-down order after being advised that the best time for the operation would be over water, as military officials determined that bringing down the balloon over land from an altitude of 60,000 feet, 18,000 meters, would pose an undue risk to people on the ground. Foreign Ministry spokesperson Mao Ning confirmed that a balloon recently spotted over Latin America was Chinese, describing it as a civilian airship used for flight tests. She added that affected by weather and due to its limited self-control ability, the airship severely deviated from its set route and entered the space of Latin America and the Caribbean by accident. Balloons thought or known to be Chinese have been spotted from Latin America to Japan, with Japanese Deputy Chief Cabinet Secretary Yoshihiko Isozaki stating that a flying object similar to the one shot down by the U.S. had been spotted over northern Japan at least twice since 2020. Washington and Beijing are at odds over a range of issues from trade to human rights, but China is most sensitive over alleged violations by the U.S. and others of its sovereignty and territorial integrity. Beijing has taken a strong stance against U.S. military sales to Taiwan and visits by foreign politicians to the island, which it claims is Chinese territory. In response to a 2022 visit by then U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, Beijing fired missiles over the island and staged threatening military drills seen as a rehearsal for an invasion or blockade. China also objects when foreign military surveillance planes fly off its coast in international airspace and when U.S. and other foreign warships pass through the Taiwan Strait. In 2001, a U.S. Navy plane conducting routine surveillance near the Chinese coast collided with a Chinese fighter plane, killing the Chinese fighter pilot and damaging the American plane, which was forced to make an emergency landing at a Chinese naval base. The current incident with the balloon has heightened tensions between the U.S. and China, and has raised concerns over how the two nations will handle sensitive and potentially dangerous situations in the future. As global superpowers, it is important for both nations to find ways to work together and prevent misunderstandings that could escalate into larger conflicts. In conclusion, it's important for us to pay attention to the impact of this incident on the global economy, bilateral relations, and the stock market. Both nations must work together to prevent misunderstandings from escalating into larger conflicts. Thank you for watching this episode of Money and Trend Insights. We'll see you in the next one. Stay ahead of the game with every subscribe.